You've been lied to. From the moment you could walk, they told you that discipline was just about willpower. Try harder. Wake up earlier. Make a to-do list. As if surface-level tactics could fix what's broken beneath. But the truth, it's harsher. Discipline isn't about random effort. It's not about waking up magically inspired. Discipline is war, an inner war. And in this war, you either rule your mind like a general commands his army, or you're overthrown by your own weakness. Most people, they live like crumbling cities invaded by temptations, sabotaged by their own mess. They fall at the first sign of resistance. Why? Because without strategic discipline, there's no freedom, no strength, no chance of victory. If you don't command yourself, you're at the mercy of chaos. Niccolo Machiavelli, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, saw this with terrifying clarity. While modern gurus talk about staying positive or believing in yourself, Machiavelli stared coldly into the reality of human nature. The world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards control, discipline. It rewards the one who stays calm under fire, who keeps order when everything else falls apart. For Machiavelli, discipline wasn't about morality or self-improvement. It was survival. Whether you're a king or a common man, if you don't command yourself, you're headed for ruin. And here's the brutal part. The moment you stop governing yourself, you've handed over your fate to someone else, to impulse, to chance, to whatever voice shouts loudest inside your head. Life, like a throne, is never empty. Either you sit on it with firm control or you'll be ruled. So let's be clear. If you think discipline means waking up early only when you feel like it, forget it. If you think you can rely on wanting it enough, forget it. This message isn't for people who want comfort. It's for people who are ready to become something brutally disciplined. To forge themselves like a blacksmith shapes steel. True discipline isn't glamorous. It's not something you post about. It's built silently, painfully, in dark mornings, in quiet choices, in the refusal to be controlled by how you feel. Machiavelli treated discipline like a state secret, a non-negotiable foundation of power. And if you have the guts to apply what you're about to learn, you won't just change, you'll transform. Machiavelli didn't write to comfort the weak. He wrote to train strategists, to arm minds willing to face the cold reality of power. So let's begin there. From a Machiavellian point of view, discipline isn't about feeling motivated. It's not emotional. It's not personal. It's structure. It's calculated. It's about survival. Without discipline, the most talented man becomes prey. The smartest thinker becomes irrelevant. The strongest voice collapses under pressure. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "Just as the good order of an army is the source of a well-ordered state, discipline allows a city or kingdom to endure." In other words, if you're undisciplined inside, don't expect success outside. Your career, your relationships, your mind, all of it reflects your internal order. There is no lasting victory for someone ruled by emotion. There is no real power for someone who can't control themselves. What Machiavelli saw, and what most people still deny, is this: discipline isn't for peaceful times. It's permanent armor. It keeps a leader grounded when fear or pride or anger try to take over. It keeps you from making emotional decisions that feel right, but cost you everything. An undisciplined mind is more dangerous than any enemy. Why? Because it invites failure from within. You won't just fall from the outside, you'll collapse from the inside. Machiavelli saw it like this: acting without calculation, moving without preparation, reacting without reflection. These aren't mistakes. They're the seeds of downfall. Discipline, therefore, isn't a lifestyle trend. It's a survival system, a constant habit. Like tending the wall that protects a city, you keep watch every day or one day it falls. He understood that human beings by nature are weak, corrupted by pleasure, swallowed by fear, blinded by pride. Only with ruthless self-vigilance can you resist this slow decay. And don't think this applies only to kings or commanders. Machiavelli believed that every person who wants to master their life must govern their mind with the same rigor. If you don't rule your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses, then life will. And if others govern you, if chance or mood or outside forces pull your strings, then to Machiavelli you're already finished. You just haven't hit the ground yet. But it gets deeper. Machiavelli compared the human soul to a battlefield. And in that battlefield, discipline is the only thing standing between triumph and destruction. Let's make it simple. Picture an army sent into war with no training, no plan, no chain of command. What do you expect? A slaughter. That's how Machiavelli saw undisciplined people, soldiers without armor marching into disaster. No spontaneous bravery can save them. Not when panic hits, not when fatigue kicks in, not when instinct takes over. And this is why Machiavelli hated mercenaries. They looked impressive but collapsed under pressure. Discipline for him was everything. In Discourses on Livy, he wrote, "The orders of a wise captain are not obeyed by undisciplined soldiers." That's not just military advice. That's a psychological law. If your thoughts are undisciplined, if your emotions run the show, if your inner army doesn't respect your commands, then your goals, your decisions, your promises, they mean nothing. You'll sabotage yourself. You'll betray your ambitions. You'll collapse before the enemy even shows up. For Machiavelli, a few disciplined soldiers could defeat an entire undisciplined army. Likewise, a few well-governed thoughts can overpower 1,000 scattered desires. It's not about how much you want something. It's about how well you control what you think and do, especially when it's hard. So let's get honest. How many times have you failed, not because you weren't smart, but because you weren't focused? How many times did you promise yourself something, then let fear or laziness or comfort take over? Just like a general who loses a war before the first shot. You lose your battle the moment you stop governing your mind. True discipline is waking up and acting regardless of how you feel. It's obeying your plan, not your mood. It's showing up even when your soul whispers quit, because victory belongs to those who outlast the chaos. Machiavelli knew that brute strength doesn't win battles. Relentless preparation does. Constant vigilance, calculated strategy. The same applies to your life. Modern culture worships feelings and mocks discipline. But that's why so many people feel powerless. Because they wait for motivation instead of building structure. Now you know better. If you want power, real power, you must be the general of your own mind. Train your thoughts like soldiers, with no mercy, no compromise. Because in the battle of existence, weakness isn't punished, it's destroyed. And if discipline is what forges real strength, then it's time to talk about how Machiavelli connected virtù and fortuna, skill and luck. Discipline and chaos. That's what we'll break down in the next part. In Machiavelli's world, luck wasn't something to hope for. It was something to fear. He didn't see fortune as some magical reward for the good-hearted or hard-working. He saw it as a storm, a brutal, mindless force that destroys everything unprepared in its path. And if you think that sounds extreme, consider how he put it. Fortune is like a violent river. When it's angry, it floods fields, uproots trees, destroys everything in its way. But during calmer seasons, men can prepare, build dikes and barriers. In other words, if you wait until the storm hits, you've already lost. And that's exactly what most people do. They wait. For the right moment, for the motivation to show up, for the fear to go away. They hope things will get better on their own. But Machiavelli didn't believe in waiting. He believed in building, in preparation, in controlling what you can so you're ready when everything else falls apart. And that brings us to one of his most powerful ideas, virtù. Now let's clear something up. Virtù doesn't mean virtue in the moral sense. It's not about being good or ethical. Virtù is inner power. It's the strength to adapt, to act with intelligence and boldness under pressure. It's about bending reality instead of being bent by it. If fortune is the river, virtù is the engineer who builds the dam before the flood. And for Machiavelli, discipline is virtù in action. It's not flashy. It's not Instagrammable. It's built in silence, one hard choice at a time. Discipline is how you train for the crisis before it arrives. It's how you make yourself strong in times of calm. So when chaos hits, you're ready, not shaken. Now take a hard look at your own life. How many times have you waited for things to settle down before starting? How many projects have you put off because the timing didn't feel right? How many times have you said, "Once I get through this, I'll finally focus"? But that's the trap. Because life doesn't calm down. The storms don't stop coming. And if you haven't built your dikes, your routines, your habits, your inner order, you'll be washed away just like everyone else. The flood is always coming, but only the prepared survive. And here's what makes Machiavelli's thinking so dangerous and so powerful. He didn't believe in blaming luck. Not ever. To him, blaming luck was a weak man's excuse. If you failed, it wasn't because life was unfair. It was because you weren't ready. Because you hadn't disciplined yourself. Because you gave chaos a crack to crawl through. Great leaders, great individuals don't depend on fortune. They challenge it. They plan for it. They expect it. And when it comes, they stand, because they've done the work. In silence, when nobody was watching. They wake early before the world starts moving. They train their minds like soldiers. They build mental walls so tight that no excuse, no fear, no laziness can sneak in. And when the world collapses, they keep moving. That's virtù. It's not a feeling. It's a system, a framework, a steel spine that doesn't break. So how do you build it? How do you stop waiting for luck and start building your own unshakable fortress? Let's break it down. Step 1, constant vigilance. Every day inspect your mind like a general inspects his army. Where are the cracks? What's slipping through? Where are you making excuses? This isn't about shame. It's about structure. One lazy thought is one brick removed from your wall. One "I'll do it later" is one enemy inside your gates. You must catch the weakness before it grows. Daily inspection, no exceptions. Step 2. Eliminate decisions. Create strategic routines. Your brain will always try to take the easy path, always. That's why successful people eliminate choice. They eat the same meals. They wear the same clothes. They follow strict morning routines. Because every decision you don't have to make is one more drop of willpower saved. Set a time to wake up, a time to train, a time to work, and then follow it. No negotiation. No "I'll start tomorrow." If you don't take your routines seriously, neither will your mind. Step 3. Create real consequences. We've been lied to. Modern self-help says be kind to yourself. But if you're too kind, you'll become soft. You'll excuse your failures until they define you. In war, mistakes cost lives. In life, they cost your future. So treat failure seriously. Miss a workout, pay a price. Break your routine, feel the sting. Sabotage your goal, admit it publicly. Make it hurt. Because pain teaches what comfort never will. Set a rule: if I fail, I pay, not with guilt, with action. Donate to a cause you disagree with. Lose something you value. Tell someone you trust that you slipped. Build a system that holds you accountable. Bonus rule: remove emotion from discipline. Stop waiting to feel ready. Soldiers don't run drills because they want to. They do it because they must. Discipline isn't about motivation. It's about obedience to your strategy, your routine, your higher purpose. You must become the general and the soldier, the mind that commands and the body that executes. Because when you delay action waiting for motivation, you're putting your life on hold until chaos decides to let you move. That's weakness. That's surrender. And Machiavelli didn't write for the surrendered. He wrote for those who wanted to rule. So now that you understand the architecture of discipline, here's the deeper question. Why do so many people sabotage themselves even when they know all this? Why, after all the books, the plans, the motivational videos, do they still fall? It's not a lack of information. It's not even a lack of effort. It's something darker, more silent, more personal. In the next part, we'll break that down completely. The hidden war you're fighting against yourself, and how to stop being your own worst enemy. Because if you've made it this far, you're not just a listener, you're a builder. And the only thing standing between you and greatness is whether you'll show up tomorrow and build again. So now we face the final truth, the hardest truth. You know what discipline is. You know how to build it. You know what Machiavelli demanded from those who sought power, clarity, self-mastery. And yet, most people won't do it. They'll nod. They'll highlight quotes. They'll tell themselves they're getting ready. But when it's time to act, they vanish. Why? Because the real war isn't out there. It's in here. And most people are at war with themselves. Let's call it what it is, self-sabotage, not random laziness, not forgetfulness, not a bad week, but a deep, often unconscious resistance to becoming what you know you're capable of. It hides in your distractions, in the voice that says, rest a little more, in the little delay that turns into hours, in the low-level guilt that feels like self-care but is actually self-betrayal. And the truth is, you're not being attacked by the world. You're being attacked by the part of you that fears your own power. Machiavelli would have seen this as a betrayal worse than any external enemy, because when an outside enemy strikes, you can fight. But when it's your own hand pulling down the fortress you built, that's a war you can't afford to lose. And that's the final lesson Machiavelli leaves us with. If you don't govern yourself, you become your own tyrant. You feed your impulses. You obey your feelings. You cling to comfort like it's a god. And every time you do that, you dig your own grave slowly, silently, consistently. Discipline is the act of saving yourself from yourself. Because here's the brutal paradox. The world will forgive you for being weak. It'll coddle you. It'll sell you motivation and affirmations and planners with pretty stickers, but it will never reward you for staying weak. You'll stay stuck in jobs you hate, in bodies you're ashamed of, in relationships that drain you, and the only escape is self-governance. The moment you take full control, real control, everything begins to shift. You stop being reactive. You stop begging for clarity. You become the kind of person who moves the world, not waits for it to move. But you must decide, because there are only two roles in this life, prince or prisoner. There is no middle ground. You will either command your habits or be dragged by them. You will either lead your thoughts or be hunted by them. And every moment you wait, the walls get weaker. The enemy gets closer, and your soul grows more tired. Now maybe you think you still have time. Maybe you tell yourself, next week, after I'm less busy, when I feel more ready. But Machiavelli made it clear, the prince who waits for the perfect moment to act will be destroyed by the first wave of misfortune. The moment is now. Not tomorrow, not someday, now, while you still have breath, while you still have strength, while you can still build your inner fortress stone by stone. Not for a dopamine hit, not for aesthetics, not for approval, but because your freedom demands it, because your destiny demands it, because your greatness cannot exist without it. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the comments and write, I choose to be my own prince. Not as a hashtag, not as a trend, but as a public commitment, a line in the sand, a moment you can point to and say, that's when it changed. And don't stop there. If this message pierced something inside you, if it spoke truth in a way that hurt a little, then good. Let it. Because now it's time to act. Your mind is your kingdom. Your routines are your troops. Your habits are your battleground. From this point forward, you have one mission: govern yourself, or be governed. Win the morning. Win the hour. Win the battle when no one is watching. Because the victory isn't in the moment everyone sees. It's in the 500 a.m. alarm, the rep you didn't skip, the temptation you ignored, the focus you reclaimed. This isn't motivation. This is your marching order. You're not a peasant anymore. You're not a beggar waiting for luck. You're not a servant to emotion. You are the prince. You are the strategist. You are the general of your mind, and now it's time to rule. If this video has opened your eyes, share it. Not for clicks, but for someone else who's lost in comfort, who needs the discipline that only truth can bring. And if you're ready to go deeper to sharpen your mind even more, watch the next video. Your journey doesn't end here, it begins here.